It's worth asking after just 2 football games. Has Mike Ekeler already worked a minor miracle at Nebraska?
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and thanks for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is here. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your future bets now.
All right, welcome. It is Thursday here on the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer here from 1620 The Zone. Mitch Sherman from The Athletic. Let's talk some special teams as we get out of the gate here. Haven't had much of a chance to talk about that this week so far. But the story is that they have been good through the first couple games of the season, which is very, very different from the previous seasons around here. So, Mitch, I ask you this: are you ready to bang the gavel? Is the verdict in? Nebraska's special teams are good.
I'm not ready to say that they're game-changing good. Nebraska's going to win games with its special teams play. I'm not ready to say that yet because the sample size is so incredibly small. Nebraska had a slightly above average special teams performance against Cincinnati in the opener. There's a bug flying around here. And then against Akron, everything went Nebraska's way in landslide fashion. And that was the case on special teams too, where the Huskers blocked a field goal to preserve the shutout. They returned punts for 90 plus yards, which, as we've mentioned on this podcast, exceeded the season total from each of the last 4 years at Nebraska. They made a field goal. So I think that the special teams this year, I'm confident in saying that Nebraska is going to be competent, that Nebraska is not going to beat itself multiple times with special teams miscues. And that's something that we've seen really in each of the last half dozen years, moments that were beyond head scratching. And I don't think that will be, I'm here to declare that will not be a characteristic of 2025 Nebraska with Mike Ekeler in charge of this phase.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a hindrance to them. Obviously, you leave room to, there's potential for it to blow up at any moment, but not necessarily for the whole thing. Just to make an error, make a mistake.
Yeah,
right?
And that happens. I think what we need to guard against is a moment where something goes wrong in a Big Ten game on special teams, and the reaction is that Nebraska has not fixed the problem and the special teams are awful again. Have some perspective. There are good teams that play in this conference, and every team is going to have some kind of a moment where it looks like a mess in various areas. Does it come in a big game and a big moment for Nebraska on special teams? I mean, that's what they're trying to avoid.
I will say this. I am not ready to rule yet either, but I generally agree with what you're saying. You leave room out there for mistakes to happen because mistakes are going to happen. But I certainly, and how could you not, like what you see more than it has been over the last couple of years, just with the total picture. I'm not a tape grinder. I am not I'm not one of those guys who, I don't necessarily completely understand what I'm seeing when a football game happens, right? Who's supposed to be where and who's supposed to be doing what. But anecdotally, as I go through the games in my head and I go through the special teams plays in my head, and each of those plays, I don't feel like Nebraska's done anything special so far. And that is not meant to be a slight at what Mike Ekeler has created or what Ja'Cory Barney has done in the return game or what they haven't done or what they've done in the kick return game or the punt game or whatever. Archie Wilson had a couple nice punts that got down inside the 10 in the Cincinnati game. That's good. That's something that Nebraska was doing last year as well. So I don't think that they've done anything special so far on special teams. I think for the most part, they have taken what they've been given which is great. It's awesome. If you told me at the beginning of the season, hey, you could sign this contract right now and Nebraska's special teams will just be a net neutral. It'll be totally average for the entire season. I sign that contract. I do. So right now I think that's where they're at. I'm waiting for something more because that's their goal and that's their expectation, but I don't know that we've seen that yet.
I think
there's Archie.
I think a lot of people probably would not have signed that contract. I don't know that I would have signed that contract. I think I was hoping and continue to have the belief that Nebraska special teams can be a positive for it and be above a net neutral. Like we working miracles is like the ultimate hope. Like that's
right
way up here. If you're aiming for like the top, and Mike Ekeler's aiming for the top, and like that's a lot to expect, but to just be a positive and a contributing aspect to wins above a net neutral, I think it was realistic. Maybe it's even not realistic, but I do think it's what most Nebraska fans were hoping for. And speaking of Archie, by the way, I have a story, a Q&A with Archie that's out on The Athletic today. You can find that. We connected this week. So it is a month after his viral press conference moment. That is a month. It's 30 days ago from today. It was August 12th, a month ago tomorrow, Friday. And Archie and I reminisced about how that went for him and about everything that's happened since then, the lessons that he's learned, and you know, maybe looking at some of the underlying aspects of being a freshman halfway across the planet. So check that out. We have not heard. We've seen a lot of Archie. Nebraska's social media team has done quite a bit with him. The Australian media has been crazy chasing after Archie. He's been on the Today Show, Good Morning America, or at least his family has been featured. Inside Edition did a piece on Archie this week. NBC Nightly News was in town last week to track him down, but he hasn't necessarily sat down and talked in the way that we did this week. So I hopefully there's some insightful stuff. Wait till you hear what Archie did for a job in Australia before he to the United States. A little tease there. So that's off track, but to continue with the special teams talk. So some numbers, some meat here. Nebraska last year as part of ESPN's FPI, their special teams efficiency was 112th. This year, again, it's early, 2 games. They're 38th out of 136 teams. I didn't know there were 136 FBS teams. I'm not sure what the FPI is counting there, but that's what it listed.
That's right. No, it keeps growing.
Is it up to 136 now?
Yeah, I think we added 3 or 4 more this year. Yeah.
Wow. Seems like it was just like 122, but whatever. So Nebraska did block a kick against Akron. They're 2 for 2 on field goals. The Huskers are somewhat inconsistent with the kickoffs. That's probably the one area you can nitpick. Punt returns have shown the greatest amount of statistical growth. The 95 yards on punt returns ranked 14th nationally. And then just the fact that Nebraska is returning punts, catching them and running with them, 7 returns is tied for 12th nationally. And that leads the Big Ten. So you see signs, like you see the signs of real growth there. And maybe the what we have not mentioned. And I think when you watched the game against Akron and saw the amount of room that Ja'Cory Barney had to run, the thought was, oh, well, I mean, 20 yards on this return is like it's going to be an easy accomplishment. Well, Nebraska's punt return team and the blocking that was going on of the Gunners for Akron was outstanding. I heard that brought up during the week this week. And if you go back and watch a replay of several of those punt returns that Barney had, where there was just all kinds of room to run, Nebraska had the Akron Gunners out of bounds. Like they had blocked them out of bounds. So that in itself is a massive improvement over week 1 and obviously last season when they couldn't return punts.
Yeah, I think it's time. Maybe this is the week, or maybe you save it for a big game in a couple of weeks against Michigan. But now it's time you get the results off of it, right? You take back a kick, or you take back a punt, or they've made a long field goal, they've downed a couple punts, right? I'm waiting for, there will be time to get involved with the fake game, in the even though that's not really a quote unquote special teams play, it's just a play that happens on fourth down. So like there is still plenty of room for upward mobility, but so far like the boxes are definitely being checked. Like, don't get me wrong from what I said earlier. I certainly like what I've seen so far. I just like there's a reason why Rule came off the first week, and he's trying to motivate and all that stuff too, as we've talked about plenty this week. But they thought they left some out there in the Cincinnati game. I thought they left some out there in the Cincinnati game. Mm-hmm. And the big play they got to think is coming. So they're on a good track, that's for sure.
I think you could expect to see a blocked punt sometime here in the first half of the season for Nebraska. They've been getting somewhat close, and just continue to look for little areas. Mike Ekeler he's brought energy. That's what he does. He's an energizer bunny, and he's brought the energy to special teams. You can see it on the sideline with the Nebraska players who are going out there to take part in those plays. It's it's something to behold for sure. And like, there's no secret. Like he's worth his weight in special teams points, whatever that means.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it so far. All right, let's take a break. We still have plenty more to cover, including we'll take a look ahead at college football this weekend. We'll be back after this. But first, a word from our friends at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. This guy delivered when it mattered most. Let's change it up. Let's give it to Mike Ekeler. Why not?
Oh my, there you go.
Let's give it to
Good
Mike.
Job. You can do that. That's within the rules.
He has delivered so far in a big way. Coach, your trophy is in the mail from DoorDash. All the things that Nebraska has done so far have drastically improved special teams. They're obviously still waiting for that big moment. So you have to kind of watch it week after week. It tells its own story, right? And that's what DoorDash wants for you as well. Use DoorDash every Saturday. The performance was not a fluke, just like it wouldn't be for you on Saturdays getting DoorDash. Keep those streaks alive with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season long, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and watch Mike Ekeler's special teams unit. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th.
Okay, we're back. Thursday episode of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Mitch Sherman, Connor Happer. Conversation right now, I want to go to the left tackle spot. Not something that we have discussed much in depth at all this week. Big topic of conversation in the offseason and leading up to the first week when we saw Nebraska rotate at left tackle between Gunnar Gottula, Turner Corcoran, and Elijah Pritchett. And going into week 2, Matt Rule said, no, it's not going to be a rotation. Gunnar Gottula is the starter at left tackle, and he played the majority of, or maybe all of, the starter reps. And then, of course, as the game got into the second half, Nebraska did various things with depth at every position on the field. So one thing that you saw last week was Turner Corcoran get out there and play as a 6th offensive lineman in some short yardage sets, like a tight end. And that's intriguing to me because they're finding ways to get him on the field with Gunnar as the clear-cut starter, it seems now.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect role for, like, that's how I've thought about Turner Corcoran for the last couple years now. I mean, whether he, fills in at a spot, whether it be a tackle or guard where needed. I've always thought he was a guard, by the way, but basically what you're doing is you're bringing him in as a 6th offensive lineman. You're telling him he does become an eligible, player. He becomes an eligible because he wears number 80, whatever it is, when he comes into the game usually. as this extra offensive lineman. But really, it's a run block, and that's, I think, part of Turner Corcoran's strength and sort of what he brings to the table, especially with 5 other guys around him. So I think that's a really good role for him. I don't know that they're specifically doing these things in order to get these guys in the game. I don't know why. I repeat this on this podcast. I don't know why they did the rotation thing in week 1. I just think it added a layer of confusion that has since been kind of wiped away, because Pritchett was out there with the 3s basically last week, and that story seems to be all but wrapped up at this point. Gunnar Gottula is your starter, and Turner Corcoran will get some spot duty, and Elijah Pritchett is going to have to work his way back into that spot.
So where do you think this leaves Elijah Pritchett?
Yeah,
I mean, this is the $1 million tackle from Alabama. Like, he's just going to be the number 3
on the bench. Yeah, that's unless they see something in practice that convinces them that they can go out there and trust him. That doesn't seem like it's going to happen at this point. I think that's where it leaves him.
Yeah, I'm not ready to close the door on that. I agree with what you're saying. That's where he's at right now.
Yeah, the door's not closed. I mean, he can work his way back into it, but it's not going to happen on the field at this point. Like, it's not going to happen in front of our eyes, right? It's going to happen behind closed doors.
There's a sentiment that Elijah Pritchett can give Nebraska more, and that when Nebraska gets into a big game, say against Michigan a week from Saturday, that it will try to find a way to get him on the field because there's a higher ceiling there. Is that even fair to Gunnar Gottula to say that at this point? Elijah Pritchett, Matt Rule has said, hey, you're going to be playing in the NFL in a short period of time, and this is something like going through this change coming from Alabama to Nebraska is going to be something that can get you ready for change that you're going to see in the NFL. Like, if he can't get on the field with the top 5 at Nebraska, is he really going to play in the NFL? And if he's really that good, how are they not finding a way to get him on the field? Like, something is not quite connecting there.
Yeah, I in my opinion, once again, not a tape grinder, like not an expert on offensive line play, but I don't think he's so much better than Gottula or so good that you feel like you have to have him in the game. That's not how I feel about it at this point. He stands out when he's out there with the 3s because he looks different than everybody else just from a size perspective, right? So like that sort of jumps off the page, but that's against the 3s and Akron's on the other side. So like, I don't think he's so good where you have to manufacture this way to sort of get him into the game. And I don't think that's what the coaching staff thinks either. Like, I think you just have to straight up trust him, right? Rule's answer on who's the tackle last week was really fascinating because usually he talks for 20 minutes about every subject that he's asked about. And when he was asked about left tackle, he said, Gunnar will start. That's it. So I don't know. Something's going on there, and it doesn't feel like it's good for Pritchett.
It did seem like he was tired of that topic. Like, he made a real effort to put that topic to rest with that answer. I don't know. I don't know if it's and because we haven't heard the head coach go in depth on that, and you're not going to hear the offensive line coach go in depth on that one because he's not available for interviews during the season unless he's on the Nebraska radio show. And even if Donovan Raiola was talking, like, that's the last thing you're ever going to get from him is like some kind of insight and true detail, like into like a team thing, something that they consider to be like their own, in their system. I don't know if it's a practice versus competition thing where they would need to see more from Pritchett in practice. And he's a guy who can go out and play when the lights are on. I get it. We didn't see it in that moment where it was 1st and goal at the 1, but like, we're not going to hold that one penalty against him all season.
He was fine in that. He was good in that game. It's just, they can't trust him.
Are there room for players in this Nebraska program where they emphasize so much the importance of hard practices for somebody who's just better in games? Like, there have been plenty of players throughout Nebraska history who just don't practice tremendously well. But when the lights come on, they're fantastic players. Like, they're all conference or all American future NFL players. And it's hard to know if that's what they're dealing with here in Elijah Pritchett, but if it is, okay, like, is there a spot for him to work his way back? Maybe not if Gunnar Gottula gives them everything that they're looking for at left tackle.
Yeah, from what I know about how they operate in their program, like the standard is the standard, and you are held to the same standard as everybody else. And if the standard is we can't put you out there in the game unless we trust you in practice, unless you've made a move in practice, which is clearly the case for other people, right? Like that's we've seen people come on because they've had good weeks of practice, and Rule talks about that. He talks about it very openly and very publicly, right? That's what Nebraska's program is going to be. So I don't think it would be a good idea, if he continues to not live up to the standard in practice. I don't know what that looks like, but if he continues to not live up to the standard in practice, I don't think it'd be fair to anybody else to compromise the standard just to squeeze him in the game because you pay him $1 million or whatever it might be. So that's something that they're probably grappling with a little bit. But from a football perspective, it seems like they're very okay with the what they get from Gunnar Gottula isn't so much worse than what they would be getting from Elijah Pritchett, and you don't have you have the ability to put him out there and trust him in any scenario. So I think that's the math they're sort of doing.
Okay, let's take a break, come back, make our picks for Nebraska Houston Christian. We've got some over-unders, some props, talk about the game of the week in the Big Ten and in college football. That is coming up next. But right now, a message from Mazda. Mazda crafts cars for those who want to do more than simply move. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, and Mazda brings that same intention to how we craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in all of the details, from metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can make every drive feel like anything but an everyday drive. From smooth handling to intuitive controls, it's easy to enjoy your time behind the wheel of a Mazda. And with all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved.
And a word from the FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is underway, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, there is an NFL game tonight. We have Washington and Green Bay. Should be a fun early season game. So take a look at the board tonight. Plenty of player props out there available for you. Of course, there's live betting on FanDuel as well. Season-long bets. You could still get some early numbers on this. We're just heading into week 2. Right now, new customers could bet just $5. And if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Think about all of the possibilities that you could come up with, that you could cook up for this football weekend. And FanDuel is quick and easy and the best way to add a little bit more energy to the weekend. So I think you're ready to roll. Download the FanDuel app right now by visiting FanDuel.com and get yourself started. FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet today. All right, welcome back. Connor Happer, Mitch Sherman with you here on a Thursday. Last call for mailbag questions. Get those in tomorrow. Yes. We have a variety of different subjects that we're already slated to cover, but maybe you could squeeze one in that makes the mailbag tomorrow. So we're excited to bring
no guarantees. Yeah, there's so many questions coming in that we try to get to all of them. And thank you as always for continuing to send in those great questions.
The Nebraska Cornhuskers have never lost, as LeVar Ball would say, never lost to an FCS team. They almost lost to McNeese State one time, and then Amir Abdullah bailed them out. They play an FCS team coming up this Saturday at Memorial Stadium against Houston Christian. Let's go into the player numbers here real quick. Dylan Raiola, we're setting his pass yards number at 212.5. He sailed over, of course, last week. By quite a lot, by like 100 yards.
364. Yeah, he went way over our number.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have predicted that he'd be in the game when it was 40-0, but there he was, throwing the ball.
212.5.
I'm gonna say he goes under.
Why?
I feel weird saying that. I mean, you think I set the number too low? I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to be like contrarian here. He goes 364 last week. Like, I think he's going to play a half. He's going to play a half of football this week. And I think Nebraska is going to try to establish the run and like do some things physically at the line of scrimmage. So
here's what
I'm going to say under.
I think they want to make Dylan Raiola a Heisman contender. And I think they are putting up, I think they're going to put up some stats. So I think he's going to throw for 300 again.
Okay. How about Emmett Johnson? I put this number at 99.5. So the question is, will Emmett have his third consecutive 100-yard game on the ground? And like Dylan, I think Emmett's going to play one half of football. I am going to say over on Emmett Johnson. I think he'll get a long run like he did last week with the 47-yarder against Akron. Easy to prop up the average based on that. And another 100-yard game. I've got him going for about 110 this week.
Yeah, this is the space where I could go a little bit contrarian. Like he had 14 carries last week was it 14 for 140? I think somewhere around there. I mean, he popped off a couple big runs, which obviously helps. I'll say, somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 carries for 90 yards or something like that. So I will take the under, but not because I'm down on Emmett or anything. I'm just sort of playing the odds with that one.
Hater. Archie Wilson did not get in the game against Akron. It would be something if Archie's parents came 9,000 miles and his brothers, Lewis and Oscar, to see him. And in the first two games, now they did see him punt 4 times at Arrowhead, so that's silver lining. And in the first 2 games at Memorial Stadium, he did not punt in either one. That would be unbelievable. He will
It'd be
punt.
pretty funny. 4 punts in 3 games is pretty wild for anybody, but especially for a family traveling halfway across the world to get here to see specifically the punter. So we have the number set at a punt and a half in this game. I will take the over. I actually think Houston Christian's defense is just, I don't want to say better or whatever, but like they are more put together than Akron. They will be in the right places. Nebraska should physically dominate, but this is a solid FCS defense. I'll say over.
You convinced me. I had typed it out under, but you convinced me he's going to punt 3 times.
There we go.
And they'll be mad about it. Nebraska will be mad.
Sure.
Excuse me. Take offense to the fact that you made your punter go out there 3 times. Okay. This is not an over-under. This is a pick your number. So, total yards for TJ Lateef, Nebraska's freshman quarterback. Everybody's high on TJ Lateef this week after he came in and led the Huskers on 3 touchdown drives in 3 attempts against Akron last week. He was 6 of 7 for 120 some odd yards, ran for 17 and a touchdown. So he was around 145 yards of total offense last week in 3 drives. Pretty good for his debut. Where's that number this week?
I don't know, but let's say 40.
40 yards.
40 yards.
All right. I'm going to put him at 95. All right.
I love this. I love this. This is
great question.
Wide gap.
Great. Well, you need to actually go back and check, and we're not doing that this year because nobody cares. But this is just for your listening pleasure. Who is Nebraska's leading receiver in yards?
Let's go Hunter again. Okay, just a name, Hunter.
Yeah, Connor Hunter. I will say Key. This is dumb. Okay. Houston Christian total yards in this game, 225.5 is the over under.
Oh,
the Huskies are averaging 396.5 through 2 games this year.
Let's say under. Nebraska's defense gets on top of them.
All right. Me too. I think that's, I think that's a good Nebraska's defense is going to play a 3rd consecutive nice game. Houston Christian will be kept. I'll say they're kept under 200 yards. How about that? Will Nebraska intercept a pass on Saturday?
Yeah, we need some more of those. Sure.
1 INT. I was thinking about this as I typed this up, and I was like, has Nebraska intercepted a pass this year? I can't remember an interception. When did Nebraska have an interception? Oh yeah. It was a consequential moment in the Cincinnati game, Malcolm Hartsock.
The one that was depicted in the drone show over.
Yeah, that's
over
right.
the weekend.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just one for the year. Will they get one?
Okay,
Saturday?
hold on. Let me think back then. Are they only? Did they get any turnovers last week against Akron? Did they make them?
Yeah,
fumble?
Maverick Noonan fell on a mishandled snap by the backup QB.
+2 total. They were even in that game.
Yeah, they were even in that game, so they're +2 for the year.
Yeah, sure. Let's say they get one.
Okay. I'll agree with you. Will Nebraska score a touchdown on defense or special teams Saturday?
No.
I'm saying yes.
Nice. There we go. Who does it? Tell me who does it.
I'm going to say it's defense, and I'm going to say it's Deshaun Singleton. So that answers the question of, well, that could be a scoop and score, but I'm saying it's a pick 6 for Deshaun Singleton this week. Okay. Before we get to our best big game in the Big Ten and our best, let's pick the Nebraska score. There is no betting line on this game, not officially. So give me a score, 11 a.m. FS1. I'm sure you can find one. Like there's like fake betting lines out there. FanDuel has nothing. So we're going with that. 11 a.m. FS1.
Usually there's Vegas Insider is a website that kind of like compiles all the books. I wonder if they have anything up as I
saw something mentioned at like 43.5, but it didn't appear to be official. So
okay.
I'm going with no line. My score, Nebraska 41, Houston Christian 7.
Okay. I'm right in the same range. By the way, Vegas Insider doesn't have maybe they post these FCS game lines
late,
a day before or whatever.
Could be.
Like we're in the same ballpark here, like low 40s or high 30s. Like, would you be disappointed if Nebraska didn't score 40 in this game after scoring 68 last week?
I think people would be disappointed. Yeah,
it's on the table. So let me drive that in a little bit. 38-3.
Okay. All right. And before we get to the Big Ten game of the week and the national game of the week, I did want to mention that because I talked about this or I teased this on the Wednesday show. So did you see Deion Sanders? Did you go back and find this? He was asked at his press conference this week, and the Buffs play Houston on Friday night on ESPN. So something to watch for you on Friday night if you're not at a high school football game. He was asked about having a solidified quarterback because Colorado is going through a change and has the two players that appeared to be contending for the starting job at the beginning of the year are both now in danger of being benched for a quarterback who was in the Colorado program before Deion even made it. I didn't know there were any players in the Colorado program before Deion got there who were still a part of the program. But is it Ryan Staub?
Ryan Staub, yes.
Yeah.
Instead of Julian Lewis and Caden Salter.
Lewis, the freshman star who was expected to be the next Shedeur Sanders. And Deion went on this whole thing about who's got a solidified quarterback. What does that even look like? What is a solidified quarterback? And my only thought was like, hey,
everyone,
you had Shedeur Sanders for the last 2 years. You named him the starter at your press conference where you came from Jackson State. Remember the Louis? I'm bringing my Louis. Like that was Shedeur. So that's a solidified quarterback. But
yeah, it's a very normal question. Like, what impact does it have on your team when you don't, you're kind of going, basically they're going week to week here with the quarterback thing, right? And he's like, what? Who has a solidified quarterback? Literally everyone. Everyone in the country knows who their quarterback is going to be outside of like a handful of teams that do it kind of week to week or whatever it is. So, and he knows that. He understands that. There's teams everywhere know who their starting quarterback
is. There was some kind of a funny reply that came from the peanut gallery there at Colorado's presser, and Deion just got such a kick out of it, and he was raising his arms and having a good time. So I don't know. It's fun to watch from afar.
Oh, it is.
Maybe not relevant to Nebraska this year, but whatever. We're still going to talk about Deion. All right, quickly. Big Ten game of the week. This one intrigues me. I could have gone with Wisconsin and Alabama, but I just don't think that's going to be an attractive game. This one intrigues me. Late night, we got some ACC after dark. Minnesota, 2.5-point favorite at Cal. Now you say Cal? Yuck. Well, Cal's 2-0. Got a freshman quarterback from Hawaii, who's looked good so far in 2 victories, and Minnesota is also 2-0. So the Gophers, 2.5-point favorites on the road in Berkeley, where they will have a crowd of many hundreds of people watching that game.
Yeah, the whole algorithm will be there. I'll take Minnesota here. They haven't been super. I mean, they beat Northwestern State like 100-0 in 3.5 quarters last week, and then they beat who was it?
Buffalo.
Buffalo. That's right. Yeah, Buffalo. They didn't cover the spread in that one. I'll take Minnesota here. Doing what they do, moving barge, slow, run the ball, play some good defense. Little Coy Parrish mixed in there. Give me the Gophers.
Yep. I think the Gophers are going to get it done. It's a tough task. Like, this is a dangerous game for Minnesota, but and the late at night factor, I don't know how that's going to be an impact. It might be an impact. That's man, 9:30 start. I don't know. Hopefully it's a good game and it makes me stay awake late. Okay, I'm also taking Minnesota minus the 2.5. National game of the week. Number 6, Georgia, 4.5-point favorite at number 15, Tennessee, 2:30 p.m. ABC. The Dogs have won 8 consecutive games in this series. I don't know if you heard Kirby Smart talking about this. He was asked about the 8 consecutive wins, and he said, yeah, a lot of those games have been hard fought, close, down to the wire games. Did you know that in the 4 games in that 8-game stretch in Knoxville, where this one is being played, Georgia won by an average margin of 30.5 points per game. None of them were close.
I didn't know that statistic particularly, but it doesn't surprise me. Georgia will win this game, and they will win by double digits. Let's say double digits, more than 10. They're 4.5-point favorites. So Georgia to cover.
I'm taking Tennessee. Tennessee to win outright. Win outright. Don't even need the 4.5 points.
You're on the Joey Aguilar hype train.
I don't know. Gunnar Stockton doesn't do a lot for me at Georgia, so I'm. Georgia was kind of lackluster against a team that it shouldn't have been lackluster against last week. I saw, so I'm going Tennessee. I think Tennessee's got something going. They're Tennessee made the playoff last year, and Georgia did not. So, right? Am I right on that? Georgia didn't make the playoff last year. No.
Georgia lost in the SEC championship game, which would have been their third loss of the year.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have to actually check this because we have a problem if we don't get this right. Georgia did not make the playoff last year.
Good. I'm glad I didn't.
No, Georgia did make the playoff. They lost to Notre Dame. They were the 2 seed.
Oh, Georgia was the 2 seed in the playoff last year.
This is why the giant playoff is stupid, because you don't even know who's in it.
I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry about that. Everyone from Georgia. I can't even remember if Georgia was in the playoff last year. I when that came into my head, I was like, wait, I know Alabama didn't make the playoff. Did Georgia also not make the playoff? Because I don't remember Georgia playing in the playoff.
Because they won the SEC championship game. So I said that wrong before too. Holy crap. All right. Let's get out of here. This is
Georgia,
horrible.
Tennessee, Miami, South Florida. I don't know. Texas A&M, Notre Dame. That's a big game. Big game for the Irish. Got to win if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. So, okay, that's it for us today.
Yeah, let's get out of here as fast as we can. It's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On and Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview with Drake Toll, Gary Patterson, Jesse Holly. They're all there. Locked On's local experts are chiming in as well. A college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff each Thursday throughout the season only on Fire TV.